are here today with the bridge between Nashville, LA, and New York, Anastasia Brown.
Hi.
Now, her resume is so long that we don't even have time on the program for all that she's done and covered, but suffice it to say that at the moment, she is a music supervisor that's hooking up Nashville writers, and obviously there's a lot of us here, with films, TV shows,
Video games.
exactly, all over. And this week you've got a special event coming up on Thursday, right?
Yep.
The Pitch, an evening with music supervisors. It's Thursday, November 12th at 3rd and Lindsley. Would you like to tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. Well, Tom Truitt created this event called Who Knew? And it's kind of like TED Talks, but in Nashville. And so obviously the music industry is such an important part of our city. That's his focus. So I spoke on it last month and was just blown away by everyone on the event.
That's the only month I've missed.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed that.
And so I said, well, can I kind of create this Shark Tank kind of event for your next Who Knew? Because I've always had this idea that it would be compelling to watch and beneficial for local artists and songwriters. So he said, go for it. So we called it, instead of Shark Tank, we called it The Pitch. And what it's going to be is we'll have 7 of the top music supervisors, two for video games, movie trailers, television promos,
Sweet.
one of my films I'm working on, and then a movie that's coming out, a New Line cinema movie coming out. So we'll all need songs, and then we'll express our needs during the event, and then an artist in the audience will go on stage and pitch a song for that opportunity live, only in Nashville.
Cool. Very sweet. And so you're basically covering correct me if I'm wrong, there's basically about 5 main places for placements. We're talking TV shows, films, video games, commercials, and movie trailers. That basically
And then when ABC, Dawn Soulaire from ABC is coming, when they promo an episode coming out that week, they always need a really big song for their promo. And that's a wonderful opportunity for an artist because they play it over and over again. And then commercials, Aaron Mercer, he will be here, and he's a local. And he needs big songs for commercials like BMW and Oreo and just some huge campaigns. And having Nashville talent in those campaigns is a win-win.
Terrific. Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So the would you like to give our audience a quick rundown of what makes maybe a perfect song for films as opposed to maybe a typical country radio song from 20 years ago, for example?
Well, we need so much different kind of music. One of the most common sentences I hear when people learn I'm a music supervisor is, "Oh, I have the perfect song for a movie." And I was like, well, which movie?
Right.
Because sometimes I need a ballad that is dark and mysterious. But then sometimes I need a really happy, I'm thrilled to be alive kind of song. So there is no certain kind of song.
Perfect for commercials.
And commercials, imagine you have a small amount of time for commercials. So you have to definitely jump into the song right away. You can't have a slow build. You have to get right to the build, and then dynamics musically and lyrically. Lyrically, they need to be very simple.
Exactly.
Yeah, story songs don't really work for
That's
commercials, trailers. Long, beautiful story song that we'll enjoy in our home is just great for our ears, but not great for television.
Exactly. You want it to be more based on emotions rather than describing a scene.
Exactly. A lot of times when a friend of mine might be working on a Christmas movie, they'll send me a Christmas song, and I went, well, they don't normally want new Christmas songs. If they are going to have a Christmas song, it's one that, typically they want to share the mood and the emotions around that time of the year.
Yeah. When I was in LA before we moved to here, I worked for Cash Hirschhorn, a couple of old brill building Jewish guy
Yeah.
writers, and I did some music supervising for them, and I was shocked at how often we would put out a call for a song for this certain movie, and then people would send us a song that had the exact title of the movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Too on the nose.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a no-no.
or they try and describe the scene that we had put out that the song would be used in, and it's just the exact opposite of what you need.
Yeah, I mean, you typically don't want the title of the movie in a song,
Right.
and you don't want, a lot of times, they might want to try to put some of the similar lyrics as in the dialogue. Well, that's redundant, so
Exactly.
we're trying to support the emotional bend within a scene of a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Good example, Peter from New York, Gray's Advertising, they wanted a song that was a bunch of girls out on the town, young, up-and-coming girls that were, and Peter kept saying, it's like these women are unstoppable. And I said, well, you need a song called Unstoppable. And he says, yes, exactly. And we wound up getting that 5 different placements.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the Young and the Restless, something on MTV, a women's feminine hygiene product commercial.
My funniest story is someone tried to clear Ring of Fire for a hemorrhoid cream.
No.
I'm serious.
No. Seriously?
And they were denied approval, yeah. I don't want that song associated with that product. I'm sorry.
That just doesn't.
What's funny?
I have a hard time. Okay, I mean, in Europe, I could see a European do that because they have that sense of humor. But
yeah, didn't happen. No worries. The song is intact.
Yeah, I wonder what Johnny would have thought of that.
Yeah, not so much.
Probably be like John Lennon too. He would have never gone for anything like that.
No.
Yeah. Wow.
But now the nice thing about it is, it used to be in the 80s. It used to be a negative for a song to be in a commercial.
Right.
And I'll remember when I was working with Miles Copeland, the song "My Future's So Bright, Gotta Wear Shades" was, they wanted to use it for a Ray-Bans commercial, and back then they said no. I mean, to millions of dollars
because the group
because it was not credible to be, in a commercial as an artist. So now it's not that way anymore, which I think is really a good thing for artists because it's hard to earn a living off, SoundScan sales. And this is a way for A, people to hear their music, and B, for them to earn a living at what they do.
Well, it's just, I can understand back in the late 60s and the 70s, a lot of serious rock music was politically active and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was a whole different vibe then, and we were not like that today. You mentioned Miles Copeland. One of my first cuts, actually, we did a big band song score for Miles. IRS Media.
Yeah.
It was December. I had to Will Wheaton and, that crowd, In fact, there's the poster in there of it. And he was great to work for. So you worked for him?
Yeah, he's
great.
my mentor. He changed my life and my career.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, he was really, really good to work for.
I set up our office. He had an office in L.A., London, and Paris. And then I established one here in Nashville and signed Keith Urban from a little sighting at Bluebird, and Waylon Jennings and Leon Russell, and worked with Peter Frampton and Sting.
Wow.
And
So someone like Keith Urban, for most of us, now myself being in the music industry, I understand how things work and how things can fall between the cracks. But, most people would immediately think Keith Urban, as like the first time he played a song for anybody, he'd get signed, but it doesn't work that way.
No.
But I mean, the fact that you recognize that talent was, that's huge.
Well, I found him in 1994.
Yeah.
And he had been flying from Australia back and forth from Nashville to Australia to get a record deal for about 5 years. And did not get a record deal. And so, but keep in mind, in 1994, it was the decade of the baritones.
And like Texas swing story songs.
Right.
Like early Garth and George Strait.
And so, long-haired Australian guitar slinger
who rocked out
was not on country radio. So people had a hard time jumping from this
Exactly.
true artist to country radio.
Yeah.
Where's the bridge on that one? And I went, the talent is the bridge.
Yeah.
You know,
Because in
and it did
94,
take-
you think of him as rock.
Right, yeah.
Definitely.
And it did take him longer, just
Yeah.
like Casey Musgraves was on Nashville
Yeah.
Star, when I was a
Yeah.
judge
Yeah.
on Nashville Star. And she was like runner-up, eighth runner-up or something. And I said to her, I said, Casey,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're a star. You are
Yeah.
going to succeed, but because you're so different, it's going to take you longer. Don't ever
Yep.
give up. And look, boom, that was 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big deal. I remember seeing Daughtry on there, and he got kicked off, I don't know, fourth or fifth down. And I remember saying to whoever I was watching it
Yeah.
with, I remember saying, you know, he probably is the only one on this season who's going to be a star.
Yeah. And
But,
was.
you know,
And
he didn't do the kind of music that tends to win contests.
Right.
But he did the type of music that tended to make rock radio.
Good
Yeah,
music.
Definitely. Yeah. It always bothered me, though, that he always tried to sell himself as a band instead of himself. But, yeah.
Well, some people are just like that. They just
It worked.
prefer to be a part of a
Yeah.
team.
It worked. I mean, you know, who am I to give him advice?
Yeah.
So, you know. Cool.
I think he's going to be okay.
You know, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he might break through
Yeah.
one of these days.
I think
Definitely.
one day.
Jeez. By the way, you'd mentioned Keith too. I was just thinking at the last at the CMAs, loved him doing the Mellencamp song.
Yeah.
with
That
John.
was such a perfect casting.
That was a great opening. Yeah, those two
Oh,
together
man.
were great.
Yeah.
In fact, Keith singing on what was it? Was it the little? I'm trying to remember which song they did of
Oh,
Mellencamp.
gosh.
Was it Little Pink
there.
Houses? Was it?
It
Or-
was just so much good music.
But
Yeah.
my point was just that Keith, I mean, actually could have made that a hit too. He was
Yeah.
perfect on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great pairing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's switch gears for just
Okay.
a second. Why don't you give us a fun fact about yourself that maybe our viewers, you know, haven't heard?
Let's see. Well, I used to sing in bands in high school and college.
Cool.
One band was called Incognito. It was a Pat Benatar cover band.
Right.
I played keyboards
Cool.
and sang lead. And then I had, in college, I had a band called What the Funk. And we
good.
just kind of grooved. But I talk about how that experience made me realize that I wanted to work in the music industry. But I enjoyed finding my bandmates. I enjoyed
Yeah.
picking our songs. I enjoyed getting us gigs. But then when I went on stage, I didn't enjoy that part. So when I was peeling,
Really?
I really
Seriously.
I like engaging with people, but
Yeah.
I always got nervous about remembering the lyrics and you know, and just
Yeah.
if I was doing a good enough job. I was in my head.
Right.
You know, for me, I always when I look for a true artist, are they able to lose themselves in the music
Exactly.
and get out of their heads and focus on
Yeah.
the music and what's happening in their heart? And some people can't get out of their heads, and I was one of those people.
Yeah.
But it made me realize when I was trying to figure out what my career was going to be, well, I like this part, which is all that I've done in my career, but I don't like
Everything
this
else.
part. So
Yeah.
let me try to find out how to get over here.
Well, I had that reaction because, you know, for many of us, we would be exactly the opposite. Like I did all my own booking all the way,
Yeah.
you know, for years in college and high school in Vegas and Tahoe. But for me, the whole reason for doing everything was those few moments when you're on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, my idea of a really fun Saturday night would be if somebody needed to kill 10 minutes, you know, before the band came out, and if you just let me get on stage and talk to 5 or 10,000 people for 10 minutes with nothing planned,
Yeah.
to me, that's the perfect night. I
well-
love that.
Well, see, for me, the perfect night is like when I was on Nashville Star, and I got to help guide aspiring artists. And so now, you know, I try to do that one-on-one, Facebook, or I'm now
Right.
going to mentor aspiring students at Belmont University,
Cool.
and I'm speaking this Friday at 1 o'clock at Belmont. It's the Be a Girl Principles, how to tap into your inner girl to become the best woman that you can be.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So I love the mentoring and helping
Yeah.
people. That's
Cool.
fulfilling for me.
Excellent. Wow. How about another question here?
Okay.
So you've got a house party going on.
Yeah.
Name 3 songs you play.
Well, that's easy for me. Well, it's not so easy because I love so many songs, but
Right.
I'm curating music for Reese Witherspoon, and
Mm-hmm.
right that today when I leave here, I'm going to go create a playlist for your Thanksgiving dinner.
Is that the name of the movie?
No,
What is it?
it's for her Draper James worldwide website.
Okay.
That we offer a playlist every
Cool.
month.
Oh, sweet. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
The first one
cool,
was the best
cool.
tailgating songs.
Cool,
The
yes,
second one
yeah.
was my favorite Nashville artist.
Excellent,
And then this one
excellent.
is for Turkey Trot for Thanksgiving
Perfect.
playlist.
Yeah,
And so,
love it.
yeah, I'll be thinking, I bet I'm going to put on that playlist Chris Stapleton, Traveler.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, he blew my mind on CMA.
Yeah, and the CMAs, he just, literally, yeah, it blew the lid off. Like the walls went down.
And
killer.
then Shelby Lynn, Gotta Get Back is pretty much on all of my playlists.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I do like Humming House. What song is that? I think it's like called Home. It's their new single, and yeah, Humming House. Sorry, Run With Me. If you haven't heard that song,
You know, I don't believe I have.
really
Check it
cool
out.
song. Yeah,
Cool.
that'd be good for a party.
And we were talking about Chris, who performed on the CMAs with Justin Timberlake, and of course, you know, he's building a house here now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Down in 96.
Yeah,
and
and he's opened up an imprint label with Universal.
I should probably cut
He
that out. I
just
shouldn't have said what I
signed-
just said, probably.
Oh no, I think that's known, and he just
Okay.
signed Shadowboxers to his Universal imprint.
You know, it's interesting because the first time that we read that his parents had moved here and he was moving here, the first thing my wife said was, well, he's obviously going to have his own label here, isn't he?
Yeah, and he does.
And he does already,
He does.
and just signed him out.
Yeah,
Cool.
I know. Well,
That's great.
so many talented, creative people are moving here.
Yeah.
It'll just
Johnny
make
Depp.
our city better.
Johnny Depp has a place just 2 miles down the river
Yeah.
from here to who's bought it a year ago last Christmas, I think.
Well, and the fact that we don't have an income tax helps attract.
That's
lot
a
of
big
people.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because
I think the income tax in
yeah.
France is like 70%. So I think
Right.
that Tennessee's a little bit better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a difference. When I lived in Nevada too, at Lake Tahoe,
Yeah.
all of the rock stars and movie stars lived like about 2 or 3 miles over on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. No income tax.
Yep.
Exactly. So,
Yep.
and still pretty much like being in California.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Skipping a
Yeah.
jump.
Sounds good to me. What about the best advice anybody's ever given you?
The best advice: admit when you don't know something. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's when you're younger and you don't have as many years under your belt.
Yes.
You want to just succeed and do well so desperately that you'll just kind of fake it until you make it.
Right.
Which I've done. We've all done.
Yes.
But I have realized with experience, it's okay to admit that you don't know something, and it's
Right.
actually better for you and the project because then a mistake won't happen.
Right. There are no stupid questions. There are only, yeah.
No.
But I must tell you, though, the reason why I laughed when you said that was that I'd been doing songs for Roger Corman.
Yeah.
As back then, everyone, worked up through Roger Corman, it seemed like. And Miles had called Roger and said, we need somebody who can do big band music. And
Yeah.
Roger said, well, I know this guy, he can do anything, whatever you want. Chinese ethnic music, he can do it, and he can do it fast.
Right.
And so they called me up and they said, big band music? I didn't. I never even heard any. But of course, I was young in L.A. and wanting to, keep climbing the ladder. So of course I said yes.
Yeah.
But first I said, how long do I have? Do I have like
Right.
a week before
Go
the
study.
project starts or two? Yeah, exactly. Went over to the Glendale Library and checked out all the piles of Benny Goodman and Duke Ellington. And
Oh.
but it turned out good because when we were done, and Miles was very happy with it. And at the opening of the Directors Guild Theater, the guy who was the music super at Disney during the big band era
Yeah.
came up to me and said, "You're one of the best big band writers I've ever heard." He said,
All
"If you'd have been
right.
around, I'd have been playing all your music," which of course was BS because those people back then, they were creating the genre. All I was
Right.
doing was imitating them.
Yeah.
So much easier to imitate.
Yeah. It is.
And I knew that, but still, it let me, and that's what I learned from the two old Brill Building writers were they said, you can study things, and as long as you emotionally understand what's going on, then you can pull it off.
Right.
Not just intellectually. You have to.
You gotta feel it.
Yeah, you got to feel it too. Exactly. So, yeah.
Well, are you going to come to the Who Knew event?
Oh, yeah.
On this
Definitely be there.
Thursday night?
In fact, I just met Tom at a Halloween party.
Oh, great.
He was dressed as Left Shark,
I love it.
strangely enough. So, so that was fun. We talked at length, actually. So I really enjoyed chatting with him. So, yeah, we'll be
And you know
there.
what we're going to do for the people in the audience, only the people in the audience, who don't get to perform live and pitch a song.
Right.
We have a website, I think it's under whoknewnashville.com or something, where you can submit a song for
Excellent.
those opportunities that we discuss for the next 24 hours after the event. But you have to be there to do that.
Gotcha.
So,
definitely. Very
It's
good.
worth the
Excellent.
trip.
So let's spend a couple of minutes talking about a couple of the quick things. What about an etiquette question?
Okay.
Let's say pitching etiquette. If someone doesn't know you, but they might see you made a comment on Twitter about needing something, what's the best way for, and not just for you, for any music
Yeah.
super, whatever. What's the correct etiquette for approaching someone you don't know?
Well, do your homework.
Right.
And if someone, like sometimes I do tweet my music needs on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and at Anastasia Brown Nashville.
Of course.
And then you can post links to those
Exactly.
social media sites, and I do listen to them.
And the reason why we post links is because if you've ever got 1,000 MP3s in the mail on any one given day yourself, then you're probably very aware that your email program will probably crash.
Yeah, your computer will implode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not to mention
But
just right.
yeah, and
Thanks.
really be careful. Like some people, they just want a supervisor to hear their music, and if it's not, if the song is
doesn't do
not
that.
right, it doesn't.
Exactly.
If I'm asking for a female R&B song in the vein of Elle King, I can't have a male vocal heavy metal, which happens. You would not believe how many. They're not even in the same family.
I do just because I've been there.
And so that's not gonna.
But you think, why would anybody do that? Well, it's because, as you said, they're just desperate for somebody
Someone
to
to hear
hear
their music. Yeah.
But they have to realize that what they're pitching to is a real high stakes arena.
Yeah. And we listen to a lot of music.
Right.
And so it
it's
hurts your
got to
trust
be right.
level. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to
It
listen
hurts
to
you.
your song the next time because I knew this time was just so far off.
This is so inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yes. My first day in LA, I blew in from Kansas in a pickup truck with 2 songs on a cassette in my pocket. It was about 83, 84, 85, somewhere in there. And I went straight to the biggest star in the world, Michael Jackson. I spent the entire day trying to get. They were on the 28th floor above, one floor above Motown in a downtown bank building, Hollywood. And I spent the entire day. I actually got in.
Wow.
Snuck in with a food delivery boy at around dinner time. And Michael was so
That's
nice. He listened. He invited us to actually eat a piece of chicken, and he listened.
That's
And,
great.
well, you talk about the appropriateness is because he should have called security and had me thrown out.
Yeah.
But the point is, if he would have been a publisher, he would have took one look at me and went, "There's a rube that just fell off the trip truck." But he wasn't. So he was
Yeah.
like, "This is another musician." He got in. And he knew the food delivery guy well, and the food delivery guy brought me, so he thought. I mean, I just met him downstairs, and I'd just given him a 20 to let me go with him.
That is hilarious.
So I brought in a song that was more of a, who's the guy who did On the Wings, Lou Rawls.
Yeah.
Like a Lou Rawls, deep, low, traditional Motown guy. And of course, here's Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
They're dancing. And he finished it, and he listened so politely, and he said, "Well, I'm not sure it's the direction I'm headed in, but but it was so inappropriate. But exactly, you will hurt your reputation
Yeah.
if you don't do your homework and don't pitch only exactly what's
Yep.
asked for.
And less is more. Send your best song, not
Yeah,
your
exactly.
the first 10 that you want someone to hear. Just send one song.
Yes, I spent a little time working in A&R at at RCA too, and can't tell you how many people would fly into town and drop off a CD, their CD, their CD of them as an artist,
Right.
with 10 songs in it, for a pitch to Lori Morgan or whatever,
No.
And I would always tell them, I just said, hey, it don't work this way. If you have something is going to work for Lori, you put it on a separate CD, and they go, no, yeah, but I just put, So I said, okay, put it down, but look, there's 50 CDs here.
Yeah.
That are single song, that I know are
Yeah.
appropriate. So I got to get through these before I'll even open yours.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it just never happens.
No.
Yeah.
They become coasters.
Or we used to use them for frisbees. a lot.
Right.
The little. Shouldn't have said that. Actually.
Well, no, but
I
it's
feel
good.
guilty.
It's good to.
But yeah, just you have to do your homework, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to submit what's appropriate, and don't over submit either.
Yeah.
Right? Don't just start throwing mud on the wall. That may work in some jobs. It doesn't work here. Yeah.
No.
Excellent. Anything else you'd like to tell us? Do you want us to put up any links on the website? Twitter
Yeah.
handle, Facebook.
Yeah, I'd love
any of
that.
those things.
I'd
Okay.
love that. Yeah.
What do you have? You have Facebook,
I have
Twitter.
Facebook, just under my name. I have Twitter, AB Nashville.
Okay.
And then I have Instagram, Anastasia Brown Nashville.
Okay. Cool. Those three will do
And
it.
then I think Who News website is Who Knew Nashville. I think.
/ probably. Huh?
Yeah.
Whonew.com
Yeah.
/ Nashville.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
And it's $10
To get in,
to get it.
and
$10.
you get a drink
Yeah.
too.
I mean, it's the
It's-
bargain of the century.
It's like a Vegas buffet.
I know.
$10 and you actually
You
get
get
a drink.
opportunities for $10.
That's right.
Who knew?
That's right. Bada boom. Where's the drummer when you need one? Excellent. So, very good, very good. If you are anywhere near the area, bop in by all means. Make sure you make it. In fact, you ought to go on the website,
And look at who is going to be there.
yeah, and buy a ticket ahead of time. I'd
Yeah, because I
recommend
think
that
I have a
too, so.
funny feeling it's going to sell out.
This one, yeah, it's been gaining steam and momentum anyway, and this one will probably be sold out,
Yeah.
no doubt, before that night.
Yeah.
But
So come on,
and 3rd and Lindsley is the location too. So
Thursday
terrific.
night.
Okay,
See you there.
terrific. Thanks so much
Thank
for having me.
you.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Likewise.